through to the building. I would like to call up Ahmed Rostom, the Senior Financial Sector Specialist, Finance, Competitiveness and Innovation Global Practice for the Africa region from the World Bank Group. And we have a conversation that Ahmed is going to moderate on sustainability and inclusivity in affordable housing, some really interesting examples from Kenya and Rwanda and Nigeria. Wonderful. Can I hand over to you?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and a pleasure to be with all of you. Can I call on my panelists, please? Funsho, Doben, Etta, Madete, and Soleman, Ed. Thank you. I suspected that our Nigerian panelist is not here, so we'll have to apparently do it, the three of us, which is also interesting. So.
We're lucky.
Great. So again, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. Really appreciate the invite from the AUHF, and thank you for the great event, and also with my dear colleague and friend, Dr. Maya Abdel Hamid, and her team in the Social Housing Mortgage Finance Fund. Pleasure to be with you all, and congratulations for a great event. I think we're competing with. We have a lot of competition here. One is a great speech by Dr. Mohildeen and our panelists who presented on the green housing, and also competing with the game that's ongoing between our brothers in Ghana and South Korea. They're winning 3-2, so we wish them all the best. So while we're in the middle of this, we'll try to score some goals here with the two great panelists in this session for the next half an hour to make it up for the time lost, but nevertheless of interest. I think we're preaching the convert here, as we all believe in the values and the fundamentals that the session today is calling for, being inclusive and being affordable while being sustainable. So I won't preach much in this, but I think from what you've heard across the day today is very hard to create markets. And even if you create markets, it's even harder to get them to function and to function efficiently. Having said that, in the space of the inclusive, sustainable, and affordable housing, multi-dimensions here, inclusivity, as we've heard from several of our speakers today in side discussions as well, is having the offering there for those who are eligible at the time that they are able to afford it, but then in a transparent and in a congruent manner. So that requires functioning at scale. Sustainability, in addition to the ESG requirements and prerequisites, and being committed to now establishing green buildings, but we need also, from the fiscal perspective, to be fiscally responsible, which means that sustainability will call for us to achieve scale and to operate on scale and to function and create housing at scale on the supply side, is to ensure that if there is a fiscal cost, it's budgeted, well allocated for the functions, for the markets to function efficiently. So very fine balance between inclusive, sustainable, and then on top of that, affordable, which is an interesting topic for us to discuss today. So without further delay, let me introduce to you Ms. Etta Madete. She's an award-winning BuildX registered sustainable design architect, EDGE expert, Aspen Senior Fellow, passionate about affordable sustainable housing. She's the co-founder and executive director for Zima Homes, pioneer in sustainable affordable housing development in Kenya. Currently under construction though. In addition, she is the affordable housing lead of BuildX studio and a lecturer at the University of Nairobi. So without a further delay, Ms. Etta, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. How's everyone doing today? You guys look excited, like you haven't been in a conference room all day. So I'm going to ask them to bring up my slides. The first presenter is not here, so my slides will be further down. And as they do that, I'll just say, what do you get when you have a sustainable design architect, a lecturer, and somebody who loves building? What happens is you have a very long lecture. But I've been given 10 minutes, and I promise to stick to that. And to say that for us, so at BuildX Studio, I wear two hats. One is somebody who's building affordable housing. So we are building, Zima Homes is currently on site, so we're managing the construction, we are managing the sales and the development processes, we're profiling, we're wondering, okay, we're trying to ask all the right questions and focus on the delivery side. But as a lecturer, as a sustainable design expert, as somebody who's curious about proper delivery, asking the right questions, I'm constantly analyzing the project, constantly analyzing it from a point of inclusivity, sustainability, and affordability. So in this particular forum, I'm speaking on sustainability and inclusivity, but our project, together with our partners in Real and our partners at BuildX Studio and at the University of Nairobi, we're constantly documenting the affordability side as well. So I'm waiting for my slides, and that's when I'll start my timer, by the way. It was almost there. It was like the next person, not too difficult. All right, as they begin. So what I'll be describing today is Zima Homes. It's a project in Nairobi, Kenya. We're piloting 137 units on half an acre, ranging on sale between $14,000 to $30,000, and that is within the affordability range for purchase and for rental. So we are approaching affordability both from purchase and from rental. And the rental expectation for these units go between $100 all the way to $250. And so in this particular development, the key things that are driving it is affordability, inclusivity, and sustainability. When it comes to sustainability, what we are working with is, first of all, we are EDGE certified, so we've worked with the EDGE team to get our project EDGE certified, one of the first apartment buildings in the country to achieve this in the affordable housing sector. And to do that, if you look at my slides here that are coming soon, you'll see that the building is designed in a very unique way for affordable housing. It is not, first of all, extremely dense. Secondly, we ensure that our corridors are single-sided, not double-sided, which means that the units had natural lighting, natural ventilation. It's also designed on site in a configuration around a courtyard. And that, again, enables natural lighting and ventilation, but also ensures that the inhabitants have a dignified living, have beautiful views out, as well as privacy within the development as well. The structural design as well is very... and the structural design itself was designed to be very specific in such a way that it's flexible. So the way the units, and I wish I had my slides, but it's fine, they're coming. So just visualize with me, a studio unit going for $14,000 is one module, one structural module. A one-bedroom unit is 1.5 of that module, and a two-bedroom unit is 2 of those modules. That means that even as the market fluctuates, as the sales differentiate between the different markets, you can be able to easily adjust the internal partitions without having to adjust the structural configuration of the development, which makes it flexible and easily adaptable and replicable. In addition, on the site, I know Taf City talked about 10,000 trees. We had 2 avocado trees, and we managed to rescue them both, which, as I mentioned, in an apartment building, 137 units was a feat in itself. Every week when I go to site, I'm always telling them, do not cut that tree, and reminding them the importance of these different aspects. So when it comes to the technical design, so the materiality is also really important in sustainable design. We're using prefabricated components in our development to ensure scalability, replicability, flexibility, and to also reduce the carbon footprint of the building. To try to describe this in a simple way, yes, we're using concrete for our slab, but we're using a pot and beam system, which means a pot and beam system that comes from a prefabricated factory that is delivered and laid onto the site. What this does is that, first of all, a fully cast concrete slab takes time. Beyond that, it takes a certain amount of labor and uses a lot of formwork and lots of materials that are then discarded and wasted. Whereas this particular system selected, yes, it still uses concrete, but it uses it in a smart way. And we've seen that the way that we have designed that, including the internal partitions using concrete panels by Kwangu Kwako, another partner that we've been working with, have reduced the overall weight of the building by about 30%, which then reduces the requirement of steel and concrete in your foundation, and then also reduces the time cost to construct because of the prefabricated nature of these materials. We, as I mentioned, also used EDGE, so we are EDGE certified, but I have, as I mentioned, I'm a lecturer, so I spend time analyzing everything I do. So we are EDGE certified and we've achieved the scores, but we also had the ambition of being EDGE advanced, which is the next level. And when we did the numbers, when we crunched the numbers and put them into our model, we realized going from EDGE certified to EDGE advanced cost the project an increase of about $3,000 US per unit. So a unit that is $14,000 suddenly increases by $3,000 because we want to add solar hot water, solar PV, all these different aspects. It did not mean that we are not able, but what happened is that we then had to look and seek green financing to bridge some of these gaps. And this is where some of the conversations we are having today are really important. How can we quantify the increase in cost that sustainability has on units? And then how can we then use that to justify the long-term capital gains from these particular investments? So in the same speed, we analyze using EDGE that if we are able to put solar hot water and solar PV per unit, the person using the unit will save $10 to $15 a month on their utility expenses. So that begins to tell a story about how sustainability can help with affordability in the long run. And we did that through EDGE, as well as analyzing EDGE and its potential for the utilities. In our project, we also believe in sustainability during construction. This means that even our contractor is obliged to ensure they're doing rainwater harvesting, rainwater recycling, they're using local labor and materials so that they're not using high carbon emissions for transport. They're using energy-efficient lighting, water-efficient toilets, even on the site. Yes, I'm that client who insists that they have low-flow flush toilets on the construction site. And also regular training for on-site staff on why green is important. That was on the sustainability side, and I can talk about that in great leaps and bounds. But let's talk about inclusivity. The thing about inclusivity is that it's much more intangible. You can put up statistics that show how difficult home ownership is when it comes to inclusivity. You can put up statistics about construction women on site, but the practical side of things becomes very intangible. So for us, we have policies, procedures in design, construction to ensure that the development itself is not impeding access for anyone. So the first step is the impeding access. Then at the macro level, where is your site located? Do people feel like they can access the actual front door of your development, whether through public means or private means? And the community, how is it inclusive to the community? When is the last time you talked to the neighbor next to your property or next to your development? So we hold focus groups once a month. We engage with the local community church and the neighborhood communities to engage with their perceptions and thoughts about the project. Not just to ask questions, but also to make them realize that developments that come up in their community, they also have a right to question. Then there's the micro aspect. So inclusivity, you don't just start from, is there wheelchair access to your development? You start at the macro level. Where is it located? Who understands this development? Who has access to this development? Ooh, look at that. I was doing well, wasn't I? Okay. Give me 5 seconds. This is right. This is left. Super. As I was saying, this is Zima Homes. That's what it looks like, I guess, and it's currently under construction. But the key thing that we were exploring this project by BuildX Studio is, can you build affordable and inclusive housing as a template? This is the context of Kenya. The housing that is provided is often both formal and informal, doesn't meet dignity and sustainability standards, and this is what Zima Homes is trying to answer. This is a pilot of 137 units, and this is what I've been describing: the central courtyard, the narrow corridor, the single-sided corridor, the communal spaces in the courtyard and in the roof, while still having units ranging from $14,000 to $30,000 US. The smart grid that makes it flexible and interlocking and able to adapt to different configurations, as well as to make it green ready by having a simplified and centralized ducting system where you can install solar hot water much later in the project life cycle. And this is the discussion we had with Edge, where there's low-hanging fruits, low-flow water fixtures, having natural ventilation. These are things that every developer can do and doesn't cost the project more. But there are things that cost the project more. That is solar hot water, wastewater treatment. And the key thing for that is scale, and also working out how can you use that to do the bridge financing, which is what I'd mentioned about increasing or applying for the understanding that having solar hot water decreases the long-term utility use for the occupants, which enable affordability. The materials, this is the beam and block system I was discussing, which means that the slab cast system, we go up one floor every single 2 weeks, as opposed to one floor every 3 or 4 weeks, which is much more efficient and much more carbon friendly, and the internal partitions, which will be plastered, but which reduce the weight of the concrete. Inclusivity at the macro and the micro scales, and the emerging insights and recommendations. And the key conclusions we have from this case study, or the emerging conclusions, are that you must consider the cost of sustainability and the cost of inclusivity. Just to get EDGE certified, we have so far spent around $5,000 US, and this is for a firm such as us, which is full of sustainable design experts. So how can we break this down for developers who do not have that expertise in-house? Beyond that, we need to insist on training so that we can scale these factors, ensure that expertise is passed on from the privileged all the way to developers who are building the 1 million shilling home or the 1,000 shilling home. And then please do not underestimate the value of innovation, but also the cost of innovation. Many of the experimentations that we're exploring right now in our project require extra time and effort to actualize. Also, that in affordability, you need to compromise at some point. In affordability and inclusivity, you need to compromise at some point. But the key recommendations, as I mentioned, is early adoption. Put these things in your financial model now. Sustainability, inclusivity, put a margin for it now, even if in the long run it benefits your development. You need to make sure that you're training and outsourcing your information such that other people can benefit and scale. And yes, have the long-term view for standardization so that all these innovative systems you're putting in the forefront can be able to be replicated and scaled in the long run, and that's where you make your margins. I'm going to stop there and say thank you. And in my motto, or my final motto, is that if affordable housing can be sustainable, then no one else has any excuse. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Etta. I think you shared with us a lot of interesting insights. I really take away that there is a cost for inclusivity and sustainability that we cannot ignore. And on top of that, there is a discounting factor that the future benefits needs to be discounted now, but that comes also at a particular cost, which we cannot weigh in without the public-private partnership and how to bring in this partnership between the private sector to achieve what you just mentioned and bring the affordability down, but then get the government to help on this. And I think with this, engaging on working from the green angle to scale up PPPs and experience from Rwanda, I'm happy to introduce our next panelist, Soleman Ed. He's born in Somalia, father of 4. Mr. Soleman Ed is the founder, chairman, and innovation chief officer of the American Dream Home International, ADHI, which was created in 2010. Initially, Mr. Soleman pursued his studies in medical school in Somalia before shifting his career, migrating to Italy, where he shifted his career to entrepreneurship. Mr. Soleman is an innovative and pioneering with exceptional broad work experience in multiple sectors and countries, and he'll be talking to us about how to bring the PPP angle to greenhouses and share his perspectives from Rwanda. Thank you so much. Please. The floor is yours.
That 50 years I was out of Somalia, so 40 years American, 12 Italian, but still I have the problem of talkative as a nomad culture. So my wife say, play a video that can say everything. So I don't wanna you do the same thing to her. My video has to work, otherwise I speak also Egyptian. بسرعة يا أخي.
With the rapid urbanization across the African continent today, one of the key goals of African governments is to offer quality and affordable housing to their people. Today, Rwanda is suffering from a delivery shortage in the sector and has been highly willing to bridge the gap. In this affordable housing sector, key conditions to succeed are to reunite, number one, a private developer driven by impact and willing to do well, and number two, public authorities driven by clear vision and a strong leadership will. Once these two conditions are fulfilled, we now get to the most important factor, which is actually achieving affordability. Key factors are an attractive regulatory environment, innovation allowing cost reduction, an abundant and skilled workforce, industrialization and local production of building materials, and finally, adequate financing opportunities for buyers and builders. In ADHI Rwanda, our motto is build more with less. Our technology is tailored to the local climate, geology and culture, and allows considerable cost and weight reduction. Indeed, we achieve an 80% reduction in weight and volume, yet delivering affordable, strong, long-lasting dream homes. Our innovation takes the local logistics and workforce realities into account to optimize delivery. Our patented technology allows not only a drastic cost reduction, but also an easy and straightforward building process. A building process that doesn't require expensive and heavy equipment, but easily usable hand tools. As of now, 55% of ADHI's construction materials are locally made with a target of above 70% in a near future. The training, skilling, and certification of our workforce is done through the ADHI Academy in partnership with the Rwandan Ministry of Education and Tibet. Today, our first 100 trainees are halfway through to graduation and are in the process of building the first 240 housing units and their complete infrastructure. These trainees will then become our trainers and will contribute to the training of 7,500 trainees. With this training and industrialization, ADHI is aiming to reach a building capacity of 2,500 units per year. In the long run, we are accompanying most of our workforce to become self-employed contractors. Alongside affordability and social impact, ADHI's solution is green. Our holistic urban development approach includes retaining walls and hilly slope stabilization, using locally excavated software soils reinforced by recycled geosynthetics. It allows us not only to avoid evacuation, but also assures the disposal of excavated materials. Recycled plastics are used for stormwater and rain drainage. Retention of the water underground permits the ground above to be optimally used. Our domestic solid waste is transformed into biomass RDF for combined heat and power generation. The cumulated savings in energy, water, and maintenance expenses alone could cover all property taxes for the buyer. Furthermore, the accessibility to climate change funding, which offers longer grace periods and reduced interest rates, facilitates the repayment of infrastructure loans. ADHI's affordable housing solution fulfills 14 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Thus, we have been awarded with an EDGE pre-certification. Green and affordable housing is not a dream, but a giant opportunity for Africa to boost growth, inclusion, and to provide wealth and well-being to our fastest growing populations. With ADHI, build more with less.
Good. So this is the only way that my boss, my wife say, if you make a video 4 minutes, then you have 3 minutes to say only the important things. So public-private partnership. How to marry with public when you are a private and profit-driven. So we found out motivation. We can motivate the public. How we motivate? We bundled all the priority of the public, not only the housing, but the one that is social, starting from education, skilling, certification, employment, and entrepreneurship. That is a problem for the public, but for us it was opportunity because only that way we can reduce the cost by losing local skills. And we cannot attract the best if we don't certify. And our certification is NOCN, C skills in the UK. Our certificates with 4 modules. In UK, they do 1 model or 2 model. Has been accepted in all Commonwealth countries, 53 plus the 2 that joined this year, Gabon and Togo, and North America. By the way, another motivation is we give to the public and say them, we have gender equality. Half of our students are girls, and they are the best in the production and especially in the inspection, and especially from the detailed job. And also, when the girl performs, the man cannot play around. It's a culture of Africa macho that pays us back well. So we found out that in our company, we say we found 14 of sustainable development goals. Means we motivate international institutions looking for impact, but we motivate government because in order to reduce the cost, we have to produce locally and use local raw material. That's one item to reduce. It was to solve a problem, but it became also industrialization and value adding of the local material. Train and skill was another one. Now, everybody's talking innovation. Innovation. But innovation has to be adapted. Then it has to be adequate. But it has to be accepted by the local, adapted to the local climate, local mentality, local tradition, and that. We found out that, we don't make apartment, but still we fulfill the density that the government asks. So we make house with front yard and backyard, and the only way we make vertical is the house itself, that's a ground area and first floor area. Anyway, if innovation helps you to achieve, our innovation is also reduces 80% of the building material. And what we are using, 75 to 80% are all recycled or renewable material. Rwanda is 26,000 square kilometers. It's a Rift Valley country. We find the older material. Older material is Botswana and dolomite. Why they call Botswana is a volcanic stone that from the volcano in Italy called Bozzuoli, and dolomite is the northern Italy mountain called Dolomiti, but in reality it's lime and volcanic stone. And all the Rift Valley you can find. We find slate, we find everything. Africa is full of raw material and ready material to use without industrialization. Our President Paul Kagame was in Niamey. He said the time to industrialize Africa is now and not after, especially the opportunity we obtain from the logistic backlogs. What we found out, we cannot afford to import building materials and still keep the prices down. In 1979, I came here in this country to promote affordable housing. I was invited by Niqabat al-Muhandisin, Yusuf Ahmed Uthman. Niqabat al-Muhandisin is Order of Engineers of Egypt. The captain was Yusuf Ahmed Uthman. And he brought us to his brother, Uthman Ahmed Usman, and I have the chance to meet Anwar Sadat, both of them, peace to them. My witness, if he is alive, Hilmi Abdel Khaliq, who was the second group of the officers of the revolution. He said, I need to deliver 1 million homes per year and 2 million jobs per year. Otherwise, socially will blow up and they will kill me. I don't know, he was dead 1981, but anyway. Today, when I have seen how many houses in Egypt they have done, yet I'm not happy. Because I overfly yesterday on Cairo, the professor saying that there is a 5 or 6% of heat increase, and I have seen millions of houses with window air conditioners. Why I'm angry? Because I know that community neighborhood cooling in Dubai was created by Egyptian engineers using a lost hot water coming from the aluminum factory. So today in Egypt, thermal solar can do breathing. So I want next time to see air conditioners with no windows. That I want to see. I am 69 years next year. So maybe Master Inni, Mustafa will say I'm older than you. One thing I would like to tell you is, I was 79 in Egypt because the workers skilled immigrate to the Gulf. It was the boom of the oil. And Egyptian doesn't want to prefabricate, and they have a big problem. Now Africa can give skilled certified workers to America who need 2 million. We don't need our kids to die on the desert and in the Mediterranean. We can skill them. Today in Minnesota, they ask me if I have certified from NOCN, I can bring anytime with visa, work visa, a ticket, and they can fly. And one of the motivation I found for African government is when you fulfill your needs, the extra we will export them. And the official remittance of Mexico from the US is 51.8 billion in US dollars, without forgetting that 2,700 kilometers of border you can cross your money. 70% comes from the construction. They have 2.7 million that. What I mean is, by looking at a solution of inclusivity, better impact, we have problems. But one problem can become the solution of another problem, and two problems can become profitable. Yes, impact, yes, but you need to do good, yes. But if you can do well, then you are doing good become sustainable. So business-wise, it's already sustainable. Now, one of the things this morning explained Master Music, I cannot forget his name because someone called Music. It is, you cannot finish. It's Music my ears, what he said this morning. So what is it? We show that if the professor, the foreign minister, say, the government, we say, we are making a total green infrastructure. We are not doing only the houses. We're doing everything in it. So the sewer system, we got the sludge, we got the water, we reuse them, but also we are using the solid waste and transforming to RDF, refuse driving fuel. Both of them we can make energy locally or can use industry. So when we government, we explain that we are eligible for 10 reasons, not one reason, for the climate change funding. And the professor, what he say is, if we got only 6 years or 7 years of grace period, what means that project will be finished before we repay. So we ask the government, you make any incentive, but not the tax, property tax, because the property tax is the one that allows you to pay back the loan on the infrastructure. So the government didn't take out money off their pocket. And we save twice an amount equal to the property tax to the owners, from the water, from the energy, we have the highest installation. We are certified pre-certified edge because we don't want to accept it. They don't know that we are now making resilience in our infrastructure. We are using recycled plastic to reinforce the soft soil. We eliminate the swelling, and what happened is Rwanda is 1,000 hills. I say to the president is 1,100 hills because I found one bloody one in the city. So when they gave us the land in a 10 minutes area, I requested, and I will explain to you why I asked 10 minutes to the CBD job area. On 150 meters, we have 40 meters of this level of argilla. Normally rocks, quarry, stones, cement. No, we reinforce the soft soil. We have swamps at the bottom. We excavated and we put aqua box, 97% capacity of volume. On the top, you can book 410 every square meter. So we use above and under. Look, what I mean, if you motivate everyone in this process, and you give him the argument, credible argument, today she say, truly, we're talking about innovation, about green, about sustainable. I really suggested that we don't inflate or reduce the value of those words using wrongly, and then we become ridicule. We have to make a standard. If you say sustainable, you have to prove it, okay? If you say green, you have to prove it. But truly, if you give this to the government, and you give 11 out of 17 sustainable development goals to go in front of the institutions, then you motivate them to be with you. If you give them economic growth, that the housing and affordability is only the engine, and industrial growth, then you will find everyone is easy to make public-private partnership. Another thing I would like to tell you is this. Be careful. In 1989, I was in Shenzhen. There was 20,000 population. Today is 20 million. Their urbanization and the Indian urbanization is the one that I don't want Africa to be blamed, because we are 1.3 billion. There was 1 billion and 1.5 billion. I don't want to be blamed. And why is that? Because what happening is now is mitigation, and then they say adaptation. What if tomorrow I say, if you don't adapt your project to the new vision, you will not get funding? What's happening today is the rich world having fire, having overheat. They are abused by media greeneries who are telling that the tree that falls in Kisangani will kill them, not the Ebola killing there. So when that happens, they are powerful and they are concerned. Now they are scared, and by the fear, everything happens in the world. I will suggest to you really to believe that green can be sustainable. We obtain it. We are starting houses at $9,000. We don't do one room. We don't do a studio. We're Africans. We do minimum 2 rooms because there is a mother-in-law or brother somewhere, and you cannot be egoist. So welcome, and I'm happy to answer any question.
Thank you so much, Soleman. Quite passionate, and let me start by praying for peace and mercy for President Etta and the people, the pioneers who you mentioned, were so visionaries at their time. I think just a couple of key takeaways. You're looking at enforcement of standards and sanctions when it comes to adaptation. I see a lot of passion about sustainability and building smart incentives and ensuring that the incentives are aligned in order to empower the private sector. Self-fulfillment and self-dependence and sufficiency for the housing sector when it comes to Africa. I heard a lot about building capacity and training the workers and as a way to bring the cost down and distilling this into your operations model and building more for less. So quite inspiring, and I really enjoyed summing it up. I know that we're running out of time. I would just vote for one burning question, if any, from the floor before we wrap this up. And I saw a hand up, so I'll first come, first served. Gentleman at the back. Yes, you're the winner of the only question. Yes. So please, go ahead. You can join us here.
Thank you. Sorted. We got them moving. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Richmond from Jackson and Edo in Nigeria. Just to make a quick comment concerning just permit me, please, for just 30 seconds, on what we're doing in Nigeria in terms of green and sustainable development. The government has always had that steps towards meeting the housing deficit, which Mr. Mj has responded to, and he's been a very good client of ours. We've had a couple of projects together in that regard. So there's been public-private partnership and joint venture arrangement between government and private individuals. And most of these private developers have gone into the space and also providing green and affordable housing to people. Some has been described as smart homes. And we've seen how solar energy is being used by many of these upcoming developments. And also there is a movement towards bioenergy for production of electricity. And those are some of the things I would just want to speak on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'll borrow my other hat. He's just sharing the perspectives of Nigeria. So I'll borrow my other hat, where I'm the focal point for the financial sector programs for the World Bank in Nigeria. And I think there's a lot going on there on greening the housing sector. And also the central bank is trying to push the green housing finance agenda there. But as you rightfully mentioned, the deficit is very big. And we have our partners from NMRC and the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria would have loved to have the FHF with us, but unfortunately he is not there. But we're hopeful, and at the World Bank we're supporting this agenda and pushing it forward to try to curb and deal with bridging the gap when it comes to affordable homes through green solutions. We tried to compete with Ghana against South Korea. I hope that we were able to beat this competition, score goals, and happy that Ghana won. And we also won here by concluding this on time, I promised my colleagues. So we have a very last burning point on solar from Soleman, so maybe 2 points, Soleman, to 2 minutes, so that we can leave the floor to our next panel.
Yeah. Thermal solar, which is a solar, you heat water, and then you can make electricity from 70-degree water. The hot can go 110 by organic rankling cycle. The Heathrow airport is using the cartons and the waste of the airport to make that kind of turbine that is working 40 years non-interrupted, those turbines. Then when the water comes back, it's a water enough hot to replace the water heater of the house. Now, battery is very expensive. So what we found out is the domestic waste we transform in RDF, which after in a boiler gives you up to 6,000, 7,000 kilocalorie per kilogram of waste. Means you don't need to store. In the night you use your waste, in the day you use your waste. You can add also the sludge dried of the sewer water. We are putting this system in our place, meaning no battery needs. You have 24-hour host, and you are solving problem with profit.
Much, Soleman. I'll try to be balanced here. So my other panelist, Etta, would like to also bid you farewell with a couple of comments, a couple of good ideas to have with you on as we wrap up. So over to you.
Yes, I'll just mention two things.
One is that the biggest gap in affordable and sustainable housing solutions is in the urban context. So when you're talking about urban, affordable, and sustainable housing, you're looking at density, which means that the margins for the developer are extremely low. Since I'm speaking in a room full of finance experts, I think it's important to really target that green housing finance or green housing bridge financing for the urban solution, because that's where the climate mitigation risk is the highest. Lastly, is about scale. To enable developers to scale solutions in a sustainable manner in a way that creates dignified communities, not urban concrete jungles, we need to ensure that these developments are dignified. So when we scale, doesn't mean you do 10,000 units on the same plot of land, but you make sure that you scale in a way that you add amenities and social amenities into these developments that are also sustainable. So let's try to fund green affordable housing, but also think about this in an urban solution. Thank you.
So, thank you. So with this wisdom, I thank you so much. It was a pleasure being with you for this close to 1 hour. Wish you successful deliberations for the rest of the day and tomorrow. Thank you so much.